Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us here today. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world today. I am really excited today to start our newest series in our various webinar and webcast series. And this is our Ask the Experts series. And we're giving you, the audience, an opportunity to engage with and ask our experts questions about revenue accounting. We will vary the subject over time. Today, we're going to focus on a few key areas that customers and prospects and clients have asked about, and we'll dive into some of those questions. But feel free, by the way, to ask questions throughout. So a little bit of housekeeping. We're going to do I'll do the housekeeping. We'll do a few pre-submitted questions that some of you sent over early on. Then we'll have what I'm going to call open mic. That'll be a chance for all of you to ask any specific questions you have, and if you raise your hand, we'll open up the mic and you can ask your question, and then we'll wrap it up. This session is being recorded, so feel free to revisit it or feel free to download it, share it with your team members, teammates. As I said, this is about you. This is about asking questions, so please do ask questions throughout. And then check out our other webinars that are available through our website. And of course, you can always contact us through the website, through Facebook or LinkedIn. We have lots going on here in Apple, iTunes, YouTube, and iHeartRadio, where you can subscribe to some of our podcasts and other video sessions. So with that, I'm going to ask our panelists to introduce themselves. We have two of our top experts here on the phone with us, on the line with us here. So let me take a moment. Jacek, if you'd like to introduce yourself, and then Shashank, if you can introduce yourself, that would be awesome.
Sure, thank you, John. My name is Jacek Dudkowski. I am the Director of Solution Architecture here at Bramasol, and my role has been involved with RER projects since early days of the tool in my previous role prior to joining Bramasol. And with Bramasol, I've been involved in a variety of projects that Bramasol has been done, as well as development of new features within the tool in the context of our cooperation with SAP and the product development team in Germany.
Thank you, Jacek. Shashank?
Hello, everyone. This is Shashank. I'm working as principal consultant with Bramasol, and I've been working in different versions of RER, including OP 2020 with different clients. I'm excited to share my thoughts with you in this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you both so much for joining us and being on this call. I know you're both busy with some very large clients that we have going on, so thanks for taking the time to share your insights. So let's dive right into those questions. The first one comes up, and I'm going to start it with Shashank, with you, and talk about you're working on a big project today with one of our largest clients with high volumes and a lot of integrations. And one of the things that customers wanted to know about is this whole idea of real-time RI processing and the less hassle in dealing with contract creation. Can you talk, a little bit about that?
Yes. So this is a key change that is coming up with the optimized version of RER. Basically, SAP is enabled this optimized version of inbound processing, wherein comparatively we earlier have to run some additional steps from the ROI monitor to process those ROI items and create the contracts or POBs. But with this optimized version, SAP enables certain features that can allow us to generate the contracts in real time, like as soon as you do some changes or create a sales order or provider contract or anything that you use on the sender components. So RAR contracts gets created and updated accordingly. So this will help us, enable more real-time nature of the transactions for reconciliation purpose, and it will also help understanding the, any reconciliation issues that can be, easily identified because there is no additional layer that we used to use earlier, like ROI monitor and certain other steps like transfer and process steps. So that is something being enabled by this optimized version, so which is a good feature to have to, considering the high volume of the contracts, or, you may have more data volume on the ROI monitor that maybe sometimes, create some locking issue. Like I personally experienced some issues in one of my clients, that when you schedule the background jobs for ROI monitor, so based on the common source item ID, or reference ID, so system used to lock it and not process the raw items the way we expect. So that created some issue, and we had to fix those issues. But that is something will be, those type of issues are no more expected with this real-time processing.
Sure. No, makes total sense. Absolutely. And when you're talking about volumes, maybe you can give folks a sense of, what kind of volumes are you talking about, Shashank?
So we even handled hundreds of thousands of raw items. Basically, when we there are certain telecom industries where there will be a huge amount of invoices, or if you use the FICA, there will be a lot of bits gets generated. So that may sometimes lead to millions also, the raw item. So raw item is very
Right.
sensitive. For any change on your sales order or provider contract, there could be a raw item. And these raw items are of two types. Like this will get generated when you create a sales order or any provider contract, or when you modify it, like change it. So yeah, we personally experienced a lot of issues basically during the migration. So migration is where you might see more than some crazy numbers actually. So sometimes it goes more than
Yeah.
a million.
Yeah. No, that's great. Jacek, any quick thoughts from you on that?
All right, Jana, I'm looking for my unmute button. No, Shashank actually covered it well. I think the summary is that it's a very strong feature and capability, but there are some issues which we are discovering in the early implementations. So the message is obviously check OSS nodes, check them off, and have a good connection with SAP as well as the implementation partner. And I know that's a very generic advice, but these features are powerful and new, and that experience is to be prudent.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think, we all talk about with the SAP team about our four dimensions of volume, velocity, complexity, and density. And I think that's a consideration for anybody who wants to take advantage of OCM, optimized contract management, or OIP, optimized inbound processing for this real-time processing. Consider the volume, and do you want to do it directly or not directly? How do you want to manage all of that? So great points. Another question that came in around the postings is similar to that, and I think jumps off of that. And I'll jump to you, Shashank, first on the AC Doc A, right? And optimize postings and consistency with the new Universal Journal. We know that we're moving away from RAR as a subledger or using tables to directly inputting into the Universal Journal AC Doc A. What things should customers be considering, and what are some of the challenges there?
Sorry, I wasn't. Okay, so this is one of the major changes that is coming up with this optimized version. Especially this is going to happen in OP 2021. So going forward, SAP is trying to align most of these RAR postings with journal, universal journal entry AC DOCA table. There will not be any necessity to run the, these three-step posting jobs that we normally do
Right.
now, the program A, B, and C. And the C is completely going to be eliminated. Like the postings will be more real time. Like let's say, like if there is a time-based POB, and as soon as the clock changes, system will automatically generate the accounting document. You don't need to run the program C, but when you run the program A, system will generate the accounting document. And similarly, if there is any contract asset or liability position, like unbilled receivable or deferred revenue, So you'll have to run the program B, and system will generate a separate accounting document for that. And
Okay.
also, the major change is that most of the current reports are uh, we use normally 4D posting table in RAF to you for several other purpose like enhancements or for reconciliation purpose. So that is going to be completely removed, and all the information from 4D posting is going to be made available in ACDOCA table. So that will also give you more feasibility to reconcile the financial data with the RAR. So in a way, like there will not be any RAR subledger. Like all the
Right.
postings are very close and intact with the uh, financial documents like universal journal entries.
Hmm. Hmm. You know, this is particularly true in Yasik. I'm gonna throw maybe not a tiny bit of a curveball or some idea or something out there, but this is particularly true as we see more and more of our customers in this solutions economy, subscription economy, and focused on ratables and consumables, real-time posting of those, and their ability to modify contracts. What are some concepts or things that the customers need to keep in mind, and what do we recommend they think about with regard to quote unquote real-time posting when real time can be so variable and when real time can have certainly a large volume?
Well, both of the features we discussed so far are a move in that direction, where you're getting large volumes of transactions, perhaps not large in value itself, but large volumes of transactions. So we're talking um, subscription-based offerings that go across your portfolio of products, usage-based data by month that generates revenue entries. So all of that generates a significant load of transaction on the system, and which is why SAP is optimizing the middle layer, the RER layer, to provide that feed from the source, the signal fulfillment or the signal of creation of a line item, a revenue line item, all the way through posting. To Shashank, which Shashank just mentioned, for time-based revenue, you're not dependent anymore on running of a three-step posting process, which, as you scale up in volumes, was always something to be looked at in terms of performance, error
Mhm.
checking, and timing. Um, on one side, customers didn't want to spend significant time during the month end running one set of three jobs with massive volume of data that would run a long time and would perhaps cause issues if an error occurred. On the other hand, customers didn't really want to also run them periodically and generate a lot of noise during the month. They would rather see a single revenue posting versus four or five or multiple revenue
Right.
postings per contract. And we're moving in that direction. So we're moving in the direction where that is being streamlined and moving the both ends of that spectrum towards each other, where we have a tight integration with Universal Journal. And that's a movement in S4 altogether. So ACDOCA becomes your source for information across the board. As again, Shashank rightly mentioned, revenue reporting sometimes came out of a revenue subledger where customers chose to use that data for the interim reporting during the month prior to month-end posting. Now that need to go to a separate set of tables is eliminated, and a single source of data can be used, which is the integration of Universal Journal.
Great. Yeah, and I think certainly as we continue to see the evolution of the subscription or solutions economy as we know it, we can only expect to see more of this activity. I'm going to change gears a little bit because many of our customers that we work with, certainly the large ones like you guys are quite familiar with, are global in nature. And one of the aspects of that has to do with exchange rate and exchange rate analysis and how we do that. And you can have a real-time methodology or a fixed methodology. So Shashank, maybe you can comment on that, and then Yasik, we've had a number of different client calls over the past couple of weeks where this question has come up, so you can maybe provide a perspective on that as well.
Yeah, so there is no more fixed exchange rate option with this, evolving optimized RAR product. So, but it is going to be actual exchange rate method as per the IFRS 15 guidelines. And also, it is a little bit, when we have different exchange rates involved at different times of event, like if a contract is going for 5 years, and if the invoice is happening at different exchange rate, and the daily exchange rate changes from when you run the postings. So when all these complications are involved, there is like I used to personally hear a lot of confusions from the clients that why does this gain or loss is calculated with respect to this exchange rate difference. So now, at my current client, I see that SAP has delivered a report. I think that is not, it is a report which helps you understand how actually the sequence of events happen for a particular POB, where you
Mm-hmm.
can see what is the amount and what is the local currency and what is the exchange rate and what is the transaction price. So all these details are provided in a clear sequence of steps, so that will help us understand why does that gain or loss being calculated. So that report is really very much helpful for most of the clients. This report was not available earlier, but
Mm-hmm.
this is one of the very good reports that we can rely on to understand this complicated concept of optimized RAR with respect to this exchange rate difference and postings.
That's a great point. And Yasik, maybe you can comment on that with some of the clients that we've been dealing with and how exchange rate has played into this as well.
Well, the whole change of RER and 830 and using the actual exchange rate calculation for a non-local currency contracts has been a feature since 1.3, and also a change for a lot of users that came from SD RevRec, and that continues to evolve, and both reporting on it, posting for it is an ongoing conversation, and especially for customers who have a significant legacy of ongoing transactions in the old functionality, perhaps on a fixed exchange rate basis. So as Shashank said, it's an issue, not an issue. It's a factor in pretty much every implementation we see at this point.
Mm-hmm.
And the posting and reporting and posting on it.
Great. And maybe, I'm going to let me leverage off that, because I think two of these items go very closely together in terms of accelerating the close. And one of the goals and objectives certainly is to automate and simplify, or simplify and automate the revenue accounting. But by doing that, you can accelerate close. And that's something that we're seeing as a result with our clients. Do you have a perspective on that, Yasik?
So again, the idea is to push more data with more integrity faster through the system, through RER, and integration both to upstream as well as downstream components. RER obviously sits between the operational tools and between the GL. And that is a primary factor in accelerating close for revenue. Your ability to create those postings, to get reporting on those postings, to be able to validate or reconcile before you are confident your close numbers are correct, is the key. We know specifically especially in clients that have a cyclical sales cycle, will have significant spike in sales and activity towards the end of a period, end of a quarter, for sales folks trying to make quota, for last minute deals trying to catch in just to make revenue numbers for a particular period. And that combined with the previous design of existing design, of the three-step posting process was always adding additional time to process this data and record for your ability to do a close. What we have now done, or what SAP has done with the tool, is gets that data faster into the tool, allows the revenue team to analyze it faster in the tool, and get it faster into the GL for reporting, both internal and external. And all of that adds to significant reduction in time to close.
Great. Thank you. Another question that came in very recently has to do with multiple data sources. And I know I'm going to turn to you again, Jacek. Well, no, I'm going to turn to Shashank. Let me jump over to Shashank. You know, your project that you're working on currently, and certainly the other ones you had multiple data sources. Whether those data sources are internal SAP solutions, such as Brim, which certainly makes life easier since they're in SAP. But what should our clients, one of they wanted to know does RAR handle multiple data sources is the first question, both internal and external. And the second one is, what should people be thinking about when they contemplate these multiple data sources?
Yeah, it is very much possible that you can maintain, data coming from non-SAP or third-party systems. So it is that option still remains same, like with respect to the data flow, and the only thing we have to maintain some RFC destinations, and there will be some uh, technical developments needed. I think
Okay,
that is possible.
awesome. I know, Jacek, you're in the middle of a couple of them that we've just recently talked about with huge data um, challenges. What are you seeing, and what's your advice to customers as they think about this?
RER has always been designed for both internal and external data sources, and that situation has been thankfully maybe avoided by a number of customers because they used the same box as the sales and distribution or contract management or FICA data sources, which obviously SAP developed out of box, and it simplifies your processing. But external data sources are extremely common, and they're common for 606 scenarios because fulfillment is no longer simple invoice, perhaps, or simple delivery. Fulfillment depends on a more judgmental definition of when the value was delivered to the client, and maybe that an activation or an end of installation or some sort of sign-off event, which you need to capture somewhere in an outside data source. What we have seen, especially in larger volumes and large complexities, is a need for processes to do data coordination between various sources and the revenue system to make sure that you have the right information to create the revenue contract with the correct structure, the correct revenue recognition methods and timelines. So anything from data enrichment on the way in through the RAI enrichment, the RAI layer being the RER delivered components, to perhaps a middleware type player that will do some data orchestration.
Right.
When you look for your scenarios, you need to ask yourself not really what am I doing today? Here's my sales order, here's my invoice, whatnot. Ask yourself, to generate the revenue contract at this point, and I follow the 5-step process, here's what I need. I need the customer and the information. I need the individual performance obligations. Where would that data reside? Outside of RER, or would I expect RER to choose that? And walk yourself through that scenario end to end in a context of a 5-step process, rather than in a context of your existing systems. And that will allow you to identify any gaps and
Nice.
need perhaps a multiple source correlation for RER.
Excellent. Oh, that's great advice. So I want to thank you both. These were some great questions submitted by our customers and by the audience here. We have about 1 minute left if anybody has a quick question they want answered. Or if you want to follow up with me, you have the invitation, you have some information about how to get in contact with us. We're certainly here to answer those questions. We will have another one of these sessions in March towards the end of the month, so look forward to that. We would love to get your questions ahead of time and look forward to continuing. So with that, I just want to take a moment again to thank Jacek and Shashank for taking time out of their busy schedules to get on here. Some great questions, outstanding answers. So Jacek and Shashank, thank you very much.
You're
And
quite
with that,
welcome, John, and thank you.
yeah, thank you. And everybody, thank you for attending. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. And I look forward to seeing you on our next Ask the Experts webinar. Make it a great day.